In this video, I will be going over what we will be building in this course. This is the app we're going to be building. It is called Modules GPT. It is a collection of modules that interact with OpenAI's GPT-3 API using Adam Rush's OpenAISwift library. I will link this GitHub page in the course resources for this lecture. Go ahead and click on that link and have that open because we will be using this to download this package, this library, into Xcode. So looking at the app, we have a collection of modules starting with new chat. We can type in anything. What are you? It'll probably say it's a human being. Okay, I'm a person. And that's because it's trained on data written by people, humans. So we have a random concept. Oh, I already have that open. So you can click reset to get that away. Tap generate, generating random concept, and we have data privacy as a random concept. So I'm going to go over quickly the states of this screen. So when I click reset, this is the empty state. When I click generate, it is generating. And once it's generated, this is the has result state. We have related topics, definition, article, down to affirmation. In the settings page, there's dark mode, there's light mode, and then there's system. And then there's an email support contact field. And we will be going over all of this in this course. In this video, I'm going to go over the prerequisites for this course. So number one, you're going to need a Mac computer with Xcode installed. I'm using Xcode 14.2, which is the newest version. Next, you're going to need familiarity with Xcode. So hopefully you have done a starter project or multiple. Next is familiarity with Swift and SwiftUI. This course is not going to be for total beginners. I'm going to assume that you have some knowledge of Swift and SwiftUI. And lastly, a passion for learning and building apps. And one thing I left out is you are going to need an OpenAI account for the OpenAI API key, but I will go over that in a later lecture. In this video, we will be starting the Xcode project. Open Xcode and click Create a new Xcode project, either here or go to File, New, Project. On iOS, click App and click Next. We will name the product Modules GPT. Select your team, organization identifier stays, interface is SwiftUI and language is Swift. And leave these two use core data, include tests, unchecked. Click Next. Once the project is saved, you will see Content View and another file, Modules GPT app. We are actually not going to use Content View, so we can go ahead and delete that. Move to trash. We're going to create our own views. So instead of Content View, let's type in Root View. This will be the root of the app, and we're going to create it right below. So structure, root view, view. And this will have a body. Type body and autocomplete will do that. Inside the body, we will have a tab view. Inside the tab view, we are going to have two views, modules view and settings view. Let's create these views. SwiftUI view, modules view. Right click, new file, SwiftUI view, and settings view. We are going to create tab items, image, system name, rectangle.stack.fill with a text of modules. This is what will show at the bottom where the tab is. So another tab item for settings view, image with a system name of gear and text settings. So to utilize Xcode previews, we're going to create root view previews. This will inherit from preview provider. You can type in previews and autocomplete will do that. Type in root view. So it just loaded. You can click here to kind of zoom out, and this is the tab item. We have modules and we have settings, and it is working perfectly. In this lecture, we will be creating the app model. This will inherit from observable object and it will control the data for the app. It will also control the OpenAI client, which we will create using Adam Rush's OpenAI Swift library. So this is linked in the course resources for this lecture. Go ahead and click that link and copy the link. Once you're in Xcode, go to File, Add Packages, and paste the link up here. It should show up as long as you have a good internet connection, and click Add Package. Add Package. And just like that, the package is added. Let us create an app model file. So right-click New File. This will be a Swift file, not a SwiftUI view. And we will call it app model. Inside the app model, we are going to import SwiftUI as well as OpenAISwift. We're going to create a final class, app model, observable object. The final keyword means that this class will not be inherited. It is a final class. We are going to create a private variable. This will be the client of type OpenAISwift. It will be an optional. We are going to have a function called setup. And inside this function, we are going to initialize the client with an OpenAISwift object with an auth token. And this will be the API key. Oh, I put a lowercase I. This will be the API key for your OpenAI account. And I put a lowercase I here, which is why I'm receiving an error. The way we can call this setup function when the app is loaded is in Modules GPT app on the tab view. When the tab view appears, so .onAppear, open bracket, we are going to do model.setup. We do not have access to a model yet, so we must create it up here in root view. Observed object, private var model, and it will equal app model, an instance. So now this error should go away, and we can also inject into this tab view an environment object, which will be the model. This will allow us to access the model from modules view and settings view by doing @environment object private var model of type app model. So we can copy that and paste that here. Let's build. Build succeeded. Go ahead and open your browser and go to openai.com. Click API. Click Login, and if you don't have an account, sign up. Once you are logged in, you will see this screen. Go ahead and click the icon up here, your account, and click View API Keys. Here you can create a new secret key, and you can copy that. And do not share this with anybody. I will be deleting this, so go ahead and try to use it. It will not work. So copy that, and you will paste it right here. I'm going to create a published variable called isThinking. This will be a Boolean. And I will create a function called send. It's going to take text and a completion handler. When this function is called, we want to set isThinking to true. You want to add equals false up here, as when app model is initialized, isThinking will be set to false. Only when the function send is called is isThinking set to true. When we receive the output, Then we will set isThinking back to false. After this, we are going to add client.sendCompletion, and with is going to be the text. We are going to have a max tokens of 500 and a completion handler. You can type in a result. We are going to switch on that result. Case of success. And we're going to have a case of failure. In the case of success, we're going to create the output variable or constant. So let output equal model.choices.first.text. And then we will run the completion handler with output. In the case of failure, we are going to let the output equal error generating output and call the completion handler with output. I'm going to build, make sure there are no errors. Everything is looking good. In this lecture, we are going to be implementing the modules enum. This will allow us to present a list of modules from modules view. So in the same file as app model, go to the very bottom and press enter a few times. We're going to create an enum called modules. It's going to inherit from case iterable and identifiable. We are going to start out with only one case, and that case will be new chat. Since it's identifiable, we must have an ID, and the ID is going to be the title, which we are going to create next, which is the title string. And inside of here, we are going to switch self. And on the case of new chat, we're going to return new chat. So this is how we're going to get the title of the module. From modules, and the case will have a variable title. So for the case of new chat, it'll return this string new chat. Next, we're going to need an SF symbol. So we're going to create a var SF symbol. This is going to be a string. We're going to switch self. And on the case of new chat, we are going to return text.bubble. Now that we have created the enumeration of modules, we can create the variable of selected modules in the app model. So start with published var selected module of type modules, and this will be an optional. This is an optional because at the beginning of our app, we will not have a selected module, so this will be nil. Inside modules view, we are going to create the body. So start out with a VStack and wrap that VStack in a navigation stack. That VStack is going to have a navigation title of modules, and we should see that appear right here. And we're going to have the modules present as a sheet. Now the item is going to be of type model.selectedModule. Make sure you have the $sign before, as this is going to be a binding. The sheet will show when selected module has a value, and when it doesn't have a value, it will not show. We have the content, so we can put screen. We can switch screen, and for the case of new chat, we will show the view new chat view. Now we don't have that yet, but we will create that right now. So let us create a new group called modules. And inside modules, we will create a SwiftUI view called new chat view. So we have new chat view created, but in modules view, we don't have a way yet to get there. Inside of the VStack, we're going to have a list which goes over all of the modules. So we can do modules.allCases, module in. So we can test this out by just putting text of module dot title, and we should see new chat. So we are getting an error because this is trying to show a preview. So go ahead and delete that. Go to Modules GPT app, and we are going to use this preview. So once you have this file open, now you can load the preview. We're actually going to pin this preview so click this pin icon, and then we don't have to be in Modules GPT app to actually view that root view. Okay, so it looks like the preview isn't working here. So to view it, you have to go to Modules GPT app, and there it loads the root view. But we can see that it is working. New chat is showing, but it is just text right now. We need to turn this into a button. So when we click it, a sheet shows up. So when we click the button, we need to set selected module to the module. So let's create a button with an action of model.selectedModule is equal to module. And the label of the button will just be module.title for the time being. Let's set a font of type.system with a size of 20 and a weight of medium. And let's add a padding of vertical 10. So for the label, I just put text, but we actually want an image with it too. So I'm going to add a label. I'm going to wrap this text in a label and then type icon. And in here, I'm going to put an image of system name, and the SF symbol will be module.sfsymbol. When we go to Modules GPT app, we should see this new view pop up. So we now have a button with a label having an SF symbol and a title. This all comes from our app model enum of modules, which has all these variables. And the way that it accesses this in modules view is creating a list with all cases of modules. And the button will set the selected module to the given module. So let's go ahead and test that out. If when this is set, selected module, the sheet should show. It should show new chat view, which is just saying hello world. We can actually just say new chat view. And let's go ahead and test it out. So we're going to click this button and a sheet pops up. So it's working perfectly. In this lecture, we are going to be implementing the new chat view screen. This is going to require a function and some variables in app model that are associated with new chat view. So let's go ahead and implement those in app model. So in the app model class, we are going to go below the send function and add a new function, make new chat. Inside this function, we're going to call the send function. So send text. Now we don't have the user's input. We're going to need to take in an input to feed into this text for the AI model. So inside of here, we will put new chat entry text, and we will need to put this in quotations. This is just string interpolation. So we need to create this variable new chat entry text. So up here where we have these published variables, published var new chat entry text string, we're going to make it empty. So whenever the user opens new chat, there's no writing in the entry text field. So in the completion, press enter, and this is going to be the output. So type in output. We're going to want to run this on the main thread since we will be referencing these published variables. Otherwise, we will receive an error. So we're going to do self dot. Now we don't have a variable to store that output. So we're going to create generated new chat, and we're going to make that equal to the output dot trimming characters in, and then we're going to take off white spaces and new lines. This is just going to clean it up. So we need to create this generated new chat variable. So below new chat entry text at published, var generated new chat string, and this will also be empty. So we set the generated chat. We need to turn this is thinking variable to false because the output has been generated. So self.isThinking equals false. We now have the make new chat function all set up. Now all we need to do is implement the new chat view. Before we do that, we are going to implement two variables which we're going to use in the new chat view. We're going to put these in the app model since we will be referencing the is thinking as well as the generated new chat variables. So these will not be published. These will just be variables. So variable or var is empty new chat screen bool. And this is going to be the case if it's not thinking and the generated new chat is empty. So whenever the model is not thinking and the generated new chat is empty, we have the new chat screen as empty. We're going to create this last variable for the screen has result new chat screen. Now this is going to be the case if it's not thinking again, but we want a generated new chat. So we're going to say generated new chat is not empty. We're going to use this exclamation point to say that it is not empty. So we now have these two variables implemented. We can work on new chat view. Inside new chat view, we're going to create a navigation stack. Inside this navigation stack, we are going to put a VStack, and we're going to make this VStack have a navigation title of new chat. We are also going to make the navigation title display mode be inline. So we can even test this out right now once this preview loads. On a root view, when we click new chat, we should see a sheet with new chat title inline. So perfect. This is working. Let's go ahead and remove this preview since we have root view already. Inside of new chat view in this VStack, we're going to put a text field. This is where the user will input their entry. So we're going to have the default text say required, and the text will be of model new chat entry text. Now we do not have access to model at the moment, so we will have to create an environment object. So environment object private var model of type app model. We now have access to the model. And we have access to this model from the environment object injection right here. So for this text field, we're actually going to make the axis dot vertical. And this is going to make it so that when there's lots of text, it will make new lines, as you can see. So on the text field, we're going to add padding of 8. And we're going to add a background of color. And inside that color, we're going to initialize with secondary system fill. And the background is going to include a corner radius of 10. And from this, we're going to add another padding of leading and 24. So when we click this, we should see there we have a background. And instead of leading, let's do horizontal for the time being. So it has padding on both sides. So the text field looks great. Below this text field, we're just going to add some text that says provide text. So we're going to say text provide text. We're going to put this in font of .system size 13. We're going to make the foreground color .gray. We're going to make the frame with a max width of .infinity and an alignment of .leading. And then we're going to add a padding of .horizontal of 34. This could actually be .leading, so let's do .leading. Perfect. you can see the provide text there. Next, we are going to add a paste button to the right of this text field, which will allow the user to easily paste to fill in their entry text with what is on their clipboard. So inside of this V stack, we're actually going to make an H stack and surround this text field with the H stack. And we're going to add if model.new chat entry text is empty. We only want this paste button to show if it's empty. We're going to have a button called paste with the title paste. And we're going to have the action do model.new chat entry text is going to equal UI pasteboard dot general dot string, and I'll just put empty text if there's nothing there. So now when we click new chat, we have a paste button, but as you can see, there's no trailing padding. So let's change this horizontal padding to leading for the text field. And let's add trailing padding to the button. So to the button, padding dot trailing 24. So when we click new chat, perfect. We have padding on both sides and we have a paste button. So I have some random text copied. So when I click this, it just pastes it right there and the paste button goes away. So as we can see, the padding is actually gone since the padding trailing is on the button and not on the text field. But what we can do is place this trailing padding onto the H stack. So I'm going to cut this and paste it on the H stack. And now when the paste button is gone, there's still the padding on the text field. What we're actually going to do is wrap this VStack in another VStack, since we are going to add a VStack with a spacing of 32. So we're going to wrap this VStack in another VStack. This is a VStack with a default spacing of maybe about 8 or something like that. So that is why we are wrapping it. We want spacing of 32 here. So underneath this VStack, we are going to add a message. And we want this message to show only if the screen is empty. So if model.isEmpty new chat screen, as well as we only want this text to show when there is text in the field. So when it's empty as well as when there's text in the field. And I'll show you why this is the case in a second. So .isEmpty. We're going to just add a spacer and some text that says tap send. Actually, let's not add the spacer. We will just have the text. So tap send in the top right corner of your screen. We do not have this button yet, but we will add this. So let's try this out. When we click new chat, we do not have any text, but when we type in something, we see tap send in the top right corner of your screen. Perfect. We're going to add a font to the text. So font.system with a size of 18. We're going to add a foreground color of .gray. We're going to say a multi-line text alignment of .center. And we're going to add some padding. So let's test this out. When we type in something, it'll say tap send in the top right corner of your screen. Perfect. So we don't want this message to show if there's no text here, as it can be distracting. But once the user has typed in, then it'll give the directions to tap send in the top right corner of the screen. In the next lecture, we're going to implement the toolbar, which is going to add the send button up here, as well as a close button and a reset button, which will reset once you click send, and once there is a generated output, you can reset the whole screen from there. So we will go over that in the next lecture.
In this lecture, we are going to continue building out the new chat view. First, we're going to add a toolbar, which is going to enable us to add buttons on the top of the screen. So in new chat view, scroll to the bottom where we have the navigation title, and go below that and type in .toolbar, open bracket. We're going to add two toolbar items. One and we're going to use this placement right here. When you're hovered over this, hold the Option key, and that'll enable placement, and when you press enter, it is auto-completed right there. So the placement for this first toolbar item is going to be navigation bar leading, and the content is going to be a button called close, and it's going to dismiss. Now we do not yet have this dismiss function, but we can very easily add it at the top by going at environment, open parenthesis, /dismiss, /, and then var dismiss. We can now reference this environment variable dismiss very easily through that. Let's go ahead and check if this is working. When we press new chat, we do see a close button, and pressing the close works perfectly. Next, we're going to add a send button in this top right corner. So we're going to add another toolbar item below. So toolbar item, holding option. Okay, so the placement will be navigation bar trailing, and the content will be a button called send. And what it will do is it'll reference the model, and it'll make a new chat. So what is happening when this is called? In the model, when we call make new chat, it is sending to the API, and when the output is generated, self.generated new chat is set. So this is the variable that's set with the new output. So we can display that here by going if model.hasResult new chat screen. We can say for the time being text model.generated new chat. This will simply just display the text, and we can go ahead and test this out. So I can type in what are you ? Send. We currently do not have a loading view, so it went blank, but it did respond, I am a human being. And again, it only says that because it's trained on data written by humans. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that loading view. When we press send, it's just blank. We want a view to show that shows the user that the view is loading. So if model.isThinking, and we're going to put a VStack here. We're going to have some text that says generating response. And then we're going to have a progress view. .progress view style. And then we're going to have .circular. Let's go ahead and test this out. What is your name? Send, generating response. Perfect. My name is Sarah. Interesting. Okay, so we have the toolbar implemented, but we do not have a reset button. We can go ahead and add that in this toolbar item leading by surrounding the close button in an H stack and adding right below that another button called reset. And inside this reset button, when it is tapped, we're going to set the entry text, the new chat entry text on the model to nothing, and the generated new chat also an empty string. We are also going to surround this reset button with an if statement. So if the model.generated new chat is not empty, if there is something there, we want the reset button to show. Otherwise, we do not need to see the reset button. So let's go ahead and test this out. When we click the new chat button, we do not see a reset button, but when we type in and send generating response, I'm a human, there's the reset button. When we press the reset, perfect. The behavior is exactly how we intended. In this lecture, we are going to finish building new chat view. First, we're going to wrap basically the whole thing in a scroll view, and this is going to allow us to view long outputs. We can scroll to view the long outputs, as well as add functionality to scroll the keyboard away when it's focused. And the way we're going to do that is using the focus state property wrapper. So go ahead and add a focus state private var, and we're going to call it field is focused. It's going to be a bool. And then on the text field, we're going to say dot focused, and then $ field is focused. So let's go ahead and wrap this in a scroll view. So after the navigation stack and before the V stack with a spacing of 32, type scroll view, open parentheses. We're not going to press enter, otherwise it'll create the closed parentheses, and we're going to scroll down, and right before navigation title, you're going to press enter and add a closed parentheses. So after the scroll view, before the navigation title, we're going to add dot scroll dismisses keyboard, and inside here we're going to put immediately. Let's go ahead and run this in the simulator and test out if this functionality is working. New chat, scroll view works. When we tap this, the keyboard should show, and when we scroll, it should disappear. Perfect. Next, we are going to put this toolbar item into a group and extract it into its own variable. So go ahead and copy both toolbar items and do Command X to cut, and we're just going to call this screen toolbar. And I'm just going to put this on one line like that. Before the last parentheses, so still inside the structure, we're going to create a private variable called screen toolbar. It's going to be of type sum toolbar content. And inside of here is going to be a group. Inside this group, we paste, and the screen toolbar is there. So this is just going to neat up our code and give our body a much shorter declaration. One last thing I want to include is on the send button on the toolbar, we're going to add a dot disabled if the model is thinking, or if the entry text, new chat entry text, is empty. So these two conditions will cause the send button to be disabled. In this lecture, we are going to begin a new module, concept view. This module is going to generate a random concept. So first, we are going to add random concept to our module's enum. So case random concept. And for the title, we're going to do case dot random concept return random concept. And for SF symbol, case dot random concept, we're going to return light bulb. Next, we will create the SwiftUI view for concept view. So right-click, new file, SwiftUI view, call it concept view. I'm just going to type in concept view for the text. In modules view, we are going to make sure that the concept button, which is in this list, leads to concept view. So we're going to do case dot random concept and concept view. Now when root view loads in the Xcode previews, we should be able to see the second button that says random concept with a light bulb. And when we click that, we should see concept view. Perfect, concept view. So the functionality is working as intended. And in the next lecture, we are going to build out concept view. In this lecture, we are going to continue building out concept view. First, let's remove the preview since we will be using the root view preview. So I'm going to delete that. Next, let's go to the app model file and add the necessary variables to concept view, or for concept view. So these are the variables for the new chat view. So we're going to basically copy these, but the concept view is not going to take in any entry text. So we can just copy these three variables, Command C, go right below and paste it with Command V. And we're going to change generated new chat to generated concept. Is empty new chat screen to is empty concept screen, and has result concept screen. And instead of generated new chat right here, we're going to put generated concept, and the same thing below, generated concept. Now that we have the variables in app model for concept view, let's go to concept view and start building it out. So inside the body, create a navigation stack. Inside the navigation stack, let's create a V stack with a spacing of 32. On the V stack, add a navigation title
and let's call it random concept. And let's make the navigation display mode inline. Next, let's go to new chat view, and let's copy these 3 if statements right here. Command C, go to concept view, and inside the VStack, Command V. Now we're going to change some of these variables. Now we don't have access to model, so in concept view, let's go with environment object private var model of type app model. Now that we have access to model, let's change some of these variables. So instead of is empty new chat screen, we're going to have is empty concept screen. We don't have any entry text, so let's go ahead and delete that. Instead of tap send, we're going to say tap generate, and we will change the toolbar to say generate instead of send. Here in model.isThinking, in this if statement, instead of response, we're going to say random concept. And for this if statement, we're going to say has result concept screen, and the text will be a generated concept. Next, we're going to add the toolbar, and this is going to require us to have access to the dismiss. So we're going to just go ahead and add that. Environment dismiss var dismiss. Now we can create the toolbar, .toolbar, and let's call this screen toolbar. Let's go ahead and go to new chat view and copy this variable screen toolbar. Command C, go to concept view, and before the last bracket, paste screen toolbar. We're going to need to change some of these variables. So instead of new chat, we're going to say concept here. We don't have an entry text, so we can delete this. Generated concept will be set to an empty string when the reset button is tapped. Instead of send, we will say generate. Instead of make new chat, we will say make concept. And we do not have an entry text, so we can delete this. The last thing we need to do to get concept view to be working is to create this make concept function in app model. So let's go ahead and do that. Below make new chat, create a new function, make concept. Inside of this, we are going to say send. The text is going to be generate a concept, generally a word or many, in the realm of anything that is grounded in reality and that may or may not be valuable to learn about. Simply provide the short concept without punctuation. And the completion, press enter and type output. We're going to have this in a dispatch queue main.async closure. Self.generated concept is going to be equal to the output, and we're going to take off the white spaces and new lines, and we're going to set is thinking to false. Let's go ahead and test this out. We should have everything working. Let's build. Let's go ahead and test this out. Random concept. Tap generate in the top right. Generating random concept. Human computer interaction. So it is working perfectly. The next thing we are going to do is to add a result view. So instead of having just this text show, as in right here, we're just showing text, we're going to create a new view called result view and pass in the text, and it'll just be a nicer interface. So we will do that in the next lecture. In this lecture, we are going to build the result view, which is what we will give the generated output to be displayed. Let's go ahead and make a new folder, new group, and let's call it View Components. Inside View Components, right-click and make a new file. SwiftUI view and call it result view. Once you have result view created, go ahead and add an environment object, private var model, type app model, and we're going to add these variables. So generated text of type string, text size of type CG float, show copy button of type bool, and a binding variable of copy button title of type string. We're going to create an init function, generated text of type string. So this will need to be provided for the result view. We're going to have text size, type CG float, with a default value of 18, so it does not have to be provided. Show copy button, which will be false automatically, and copy button title of type binding string is going to be equal to binding.constant of copy. Inside this init function, we're going to set the generated text to the provided generated text. Same thing with the text size. Show copy button. And for copy button title, make sure you have an underscore before copy button title. This is required since we are using binding, and this underscore lets us reference the underlying value behind the binding variable. Let's go ahead and remove the previews just so we don't get any errors. Inside the body, let's create a VStack, and inside the VStack, let's create a text object of generated text. Let's set the font to .system with a size of text size. Let's make it a fixed size, horizontal false and vertical true. Let's create the multi-line text alignment of .leading. And let's create a context menu, which will allow us to copy. So we'll set the UI pasteboard .general .string is going to be equal to generated text with a label, with an image, system name, doc on doc, with text that says copy. Underneath, let's create an if statement, if show copy button. Then we have a button with the title of copy button title. And when that is pressed, we will set the user's pasteboard to clipboard, to the generated concept. And we will set the copy button title to copied to clipboard. We will set the button style to .bordered. And on the VStack, we're going to add padding and a background of color secondary system fill with a .corner radius of 16 and a padding horizontal of 24. We now have result view fully built, and we can use it in concept view. So instead of having text of model.generated concept, we can have result view, generated text, and I'm going to hold option to utilize all four of these variables. Generated text will be model.generated concept. The text size will be 28. Show copy button will be true. And for concept view, this is the only module which we will use the show copy button. And the copy button title is going to need to be a state variable of copy button title. So let's go ahead and create that up top. At state private var copy button title of type string. It's going to equal copy. And inside the reset button, we are going to set copy button title back to its original copy. In generate, we will also do the same thing. Copy button title equals copy. Let's go ahead and test this out. Random concept, generate. and the view is showing perfectly. When I press copy, it should say copied to clipboard. Perfect. And when I press reset and generate, it will say copy. As well as whenever I click copy, copied to clipboard, when I press generate, it should reset, copy. Perfect. Next, let's integrate the result view into new chat view. Instead of saying text model generated new chat, we'll say result view with a generated text of model.generated new chat. Let's go ahead and test this. In new chat, say something, send, say something funny, and I give a joke. And the result view is showing perfectly. There's no copy button, but since we did add a context menu, we can hold down and press copy that way. Okay, so in the next lecture, we are going to start building the related topics view, which is our next module. In this lecture, we are going to be building related topics view. So first, let's add related topics to our module's enum. So underneath random concept, let's add case related topics. In title, case.related topics, return related topics. And for the SF symbol, we will do case.related topics, return square.stack.3d.up. Next, let's create the necessary variables in our app model to control our related topics view. Let's copy these 4 variables from new chat and use them for our related topics view. So underneath generated concept, we will put, instead of new chat entry text, we will say related topics entry text, generated related topics, is empty related topic screen, and has result related topic screen. And instead of generated new chat, we will put generated related topics. Same thing for this variable. Next, let's create the make related topics function. So function make related topics. Let's copy and paste this, and we will just change what we have to. Let's remove all this text and type in generate 5 topics that are closely related to, and then we will use string interpolation, so backslash parentheses. We'll do self.related topics entry text. And outside the string interpolation, we will put a period, say simply provide the related topics separated by new line. And inside the output, the closure, we will say generated related topics equals the output, and self is thinking equals false. Next, let's create the SwiftUI view. So right click on modules, new file. We're going to create a SwiftUI view called related topics view. Once you have the related topics view, let's go ahead and remove the preview, and let's just use the root view. Now that we have related topics view, we can go to modules view and add in this switch statement. So we can say related topics, and we will return related topics view. Now when you look in the Xcode previews, we do have related topics, and it works. Inside related topics view, we're going to copy what's in new chat view. So go to new chat view, scroll to the top, and starting at the environment object, go to the very bottom besides the last bracket. So copy everything but that last bracket and the structure first line. Copy that, go to related topics, and replace the body variable and paste. Now we are going to change some variables. So instead of new chat entry text, we will put related topics entry text. You can go ahead and copy that and paste it here as well as here. Next, let's change is empty new chat screen to is empty related topic screen. And instead of new chat entry text, we will say related topics entry text. We will say tap generate in the top right corner of your screen, and we will change this send button to generate. Instead of saying generating response, let's say generating related topics. And under has result new chat screen, we will say has result related topic screen. And we will have the result view show the generated related topics. The navigation title will be related topics. And in the screen toolbar, let's change this into generated related topics, related topics entry text, as well as generated related topics. In the generate button, we will say make related topics, and model is thinking, that's good, and we can change this to related topics entry text. Everything should be working, and let's go ahead and test this out. Let's click related topics. I will type in computer science and generate. Perfect. So it gives us 5 related topics. One thing I forgot to add is that we want to have padding on the top. So not on the scroll view, but on the VStack, we're going to add padding of vertical and 32. Let's also add this padding on new chat view. So on line 59 for me. We now have related topics fully working. In the next module, we will build definition view. In this lecture, we are going to be building our 4th module, definition view. So you should be getting the hang of what we're doing, so we are going to go a little faster this time. Let's go ahead and open our app model file and add in our modules enum a case of definition. Case.definition, return definition. And for SF symbol, case definition is going to return !.circle. Let's make the necessary variables for our definition view. So we're going to copy these related topics variables, all 4 of them, and paste them. We're going to change related topics to definition. Generated definition is empty definition screen. And we're going to change this generated related topics to generated definition. Has result definition screen. And then we're going to change this variable to generated definition. Next, let's make the make definition function. So func make definition. We're going to copy from make related topics and paste. The text is going to be provide the definition of, and then string interpolation, definition entry text. And so we don't actually need this self here. We can just delete that. Inside the output, we will set to generated definition. In our modules folder, we're going to right click and add a new file. This is going to be a SwiftUI view called definition view. In modules view, add the case.definition and return definition view. Let's go to new chat view and copy from line 11 to the very bottom, excluding the last bracket. We're going to copy this, and in definition view, select the body and paste. Let's go ahead and remove the definition view preview, and let's start changing these variables. So instead of new chat entry text, we will say definition entry text. Same thing on this if statement and inside the button, definition entry text. Instead of provide text, we will say provide a topic or keyword. Instead of is empty new chat screen, it'll be is empty definition screen. And instead of new chat entry text, it'll be definition entry text. When model is thinking, we can say generating definition. And when has result definition screen, then the generated definition. The navigation title will be definition. And in the toolbar, generated definition, we'll set the definition entry text and the generated definition. In the send, we're going to call the make definition function, and the model.definition entry text is empty. Let's go ahead and test the definition module. So we're going to just type in computer science. Okay, so we do have one error. I want to have generate instead of send. So button generate. And instead of tap send, we will say tap generate. Let's try that again. Definition. We're going to type computer science. Generate, generating definition. And there we go. So definition is working perfectly. In this lecture, we are going to be building our fifth module, article view. Let's go to app model and add to our modules enum article. So case article. For title, case article, return article. And for SF symbol, case article, return book. Let's make the necessary variables. Let's copy from definition these 4 variables and paste right below. Change definition to article, generated article, is empty article screen, has a result article screen, and put generated article over here on these 2 variables. Let's create the make article function. So below make definition, func make article. Let's copy from make definition and change this part to generate an in-depth, grounded in reality, 1 paragraph Wikipedia article for a reader who does not understand the topic of, and then in the string interpolation, article entry text. Period. Simply provide the generated article. And one thing I forgot to put is a period right after this generated, provide the definition of the definition entry text, we put a period. Over here, we want to put generated article. That's what we want to set the output to. Next, let's right click on modules and create a new file. We're going to call it article view. Let's remove the previews and let's go to definition view and copy from line 11 to the very bottom, excluding the last bracket. Let's copy that, and in article view, let's replace the body with what we just copied. Let's change definition to article. And let's put this article entry text here and here. Let's change is empty definition screen to is empty article screen and change this to article entry text. Instead of generating definition, we will say generating article. And has result, we put article screen, generated text, generated article. The navigation title will be article. And in the toolbar, we are going to put generated article is empty, and the reset button will change article entry text and generated article. The generate button will call the function make article, and we can change definition here to article. Article view should be fully working, so let's go ahead and test this in Xcode previews. I did forget to add article view to modules view, so go to modules view. We're going to add case.article and put article view. We now see article in our Xcode previews, and clicking on that, let's create an article on computer science. So this should generate a roughly 1 paragraph Wikipedia article, and it seems to have done just that. So we have article view working. In the next lecture, we are going to work on expanded view. In this lecture, we are going to be building our 6th module, expanded view. So let's add expanded to our modules enum. So case expanded title, we're going to have case.expanded return expand text. And on case, on SF symbol, we're going to say case expanded return plus. Let's make the necessary variables up top. Let's copy these article variables and paste them right below. Let's change article to expanded. Generated expanded is empty expanded screen, has result expanded screen, and then let's put generated expanded instead of generated article in these two instances. Let's now create the make expanded function. So below make article, func make expanded, and let's copy this send function. Inside the text, let's say expand on the following text, and then string interpolation expanded entry text. We actually want to surround the expanded entry text in quotation marks as part of the prompt. So we're going to put quotation mark around, but this actually interferes with the way Swift interprets strings. So we must put a backslash before these quotation marks. So backslash. Let's change generated article to generated expanded. Let's now right-click modules and create expanded view. This will be a SwiftUI view. Let's now add expanded view to our modules view. So case.expanded, expanded view. Let's go to article view and copy from line 11, right here, the environment object, to the very bottom, excluding the last bracket. And let's paste this. Let's replace the body variable in expanded view and paste. Let's change article to expanded. And let's go ahead and just copy this expanded entry text so we can paste here and here, as well as here. Let's change is empty article to expanded, is empty expanded. Instead of generating article, generating expanded. Has result. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove the previews. Let's change has result article to has result expanded, and the generated text will be the generated expanded. The navigation title will be expand text. And instead of generated article down here, we will put generated expanded, expanded entry text, and generated expanded. When we tap generate, we want to make expanded. And let's change this article to expanded. Let us now test in the Xcode previews if expanded is working. Let's expand on the following text. Computer science is fun. Generate. Let's see what happens. And it did expand on the text, so our expanded view is working. In the next lecture, we are going to build summarized view. In this lecture, we are going to be building our 7th module, summarized view. Let's add summarized to our module's enum. So case summarized on title, summarized will return summarized text. And for SF symbol, we will return minus. Let's add the necessary variables for summarized view by copying the variables for expanded view and pasting them right below. Let's change expanded to summarized. Let's change generated expanded to generated summary. Is empty summarized screen and has result summarized screen. Let's change generated expanded to generated summary. Let's go to modules view and add summarized view. So case.summarized will return summarized, and we have not made summarized view. So in modules, right click and do new file, SwiftUI view, and call it summarized view. Now in the modules view file, add summarized view. Let's copy from expanded view, starting from the environment object to the very bottom, excluding the last bracket, and replace the body variable in summarized view with what we just copied. Let's change expanded entry text to summarized entry text. Again, here and here, as well as here. Let's change is empty expanded to summarized screen, generating summary, has a result summarized screen, and generated summary. Summarized text and generated summary. Reset will do summarized entry text and generated summary. On generate, we will make summary, which we do not have yet, and we will make. And expanded will become summarized entry text. Let's go ahead and remove the preview. And let's create this function make summary in app model. Below make expanded, add the function make summary. We're going to copy from here and paste. We're going to change this to summarize, and I'm going to add readable by an 8th grader. I'm going to change generated expanded to generated summary. I'm going to build, and I'm going to open the canvas, and we're going to test out summarized view, and it should be working. So in summarized text, I'm just going to type in computer science is very, 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 very interesting. And let's generate and see if it summarizes it. So one thing I forgot is to change this expanded entry text in the make summary function in app model. You must change expanded entry text to summarized entry text. And now this should work. I'm going to type in computer science is very, very, very interesting. And let's see if it will summarize the sentence. Summarized text is working perfectly. One last note is that in summarized view, we want to change this text. Instead of provide a topic or keyword, we just want to say provide text. And we are going to say the same thing on expanded view. Instead of provide a topic or keyword, we will say provide text. In the next lecture, we are going to work on the comparison module. In this lecture, we are going to be building our 8th module, comparison view. Let's add comparison to our module's enum. So case comparison. In title, we will do case.comparison, return comparison. And for SF symbol, case comparison will return arrow.up.arrow.down. Let's go to the top of the app model and create the necessary variables. Let's copy these and paste right below. For comparison, we're going to have 2 entry texts. So let's make this differences entry text 1. Let's copy that and paste it and make a differences entry text 2. Then we'll have the generated differences. We're going to have an is empty comparison screen and has result comparison screen. For generated summary, we'll change this to generated differences, as well as generated summary below. Let's now create the make comparison function. So below make summary, let's actually copy this whole function, go below and paste it. Let's change this to make comparison. Let's change this text to provide a list of differences between, and then we will have differences entry text 1. And let's copy this from the backslash to this quotation, between that and then and space and then paste, and we will make this number 2. The output we will set to generated differences. Let's now create comparison view in the modules folder. So right click and new file. This will be a SwiftUI view called comparison view. Let's add comparison view to our modules view. So case.comparison, comparison view. Let's go to summarized view and copy from environment object to the very bottom, excluding the last bracket. Copy that and replace the body variable in comparison view. Find this VStack, and we're going to copy this. Since we're going to have two text fields, we're going to copy that and paste below. The text for the first text field will be differences entry text 1. And we can set this for the paste button as well on these two variables. And the second text field will be differences entry text 2. And we can paste that here and here. For this if statement, we will change summarized to comparison. And we will change this summarized entry text to differences entry text 1. And let's copy this and put a comma and paste. And we'll change this to number 2. Generating, instead of summary, we will say generating comparison. Has result comparison screen. Differences. For the navigation title, we will call it comparison. Inside the screen toolbar, we will say generated differences. And we will set differences entry text 1 to an empty string. Differences entry text 1, and then copy that, and we'll do that with differences entry text 2. And then we will also set the generated differences to an empty string. In here we will say make comparison, and instead of summarized entry text, we will say differences entry text 1 is empty. Copy that, we'll add another or, and we'll change this to 2. Let's remove the preview. Let's build. Let's open the canvas and test out comparison view. So we'll click comparison. We'll type in computer science, and we'll put data science. We'll generate a comparison. And as you can see, it generated a comparison exactly as we intended. In the next lecture, we are going to be building our 9th module called Next View. In this lecture, we are going to be building our 9th module, Next View. Let's add next to our module's enum. So case next. Title will be case.next. Return next. The SF symbol will be return arrow shape.right. Let's add the necessary variables, and we're going to copy from the concept view the variables for concept view. So below differences, we will say generated next is empty next screen, has result next screen, and we'll copy generated next and paste it here and here. Let's create the make next function. So scroll down, and below make comparison, we'll make function make next. Inside here, let's copy the send function and paste here. Let's remove everything that's in the text field, and let's write provide a random but important single thing to think about on the topic of daily living in the form of a direction for me to follow right now. Be specific. So that is the prompt. In the output, we will set that to generated next. Now let's make the next view in modules. So right click modules, new file. This will be a SwiftUI view called next view. Let's remove the preview and let's go to concept view. We're going to copy from environment object all the way down, excluding the last bracket, but everything else. So just like that. We're going to replace the body variable with what we just copied, and we're going to remove this copy button title. Instead of is empty concept screen, we will change concept to next. Instead of random concept, we will say next. Instead of concept here, we will say next. And for the result view, we will take away these variables and just have generated next. That's all we will pass in. For the navigation title, we will call it next. And let's add vertical padding of 32. Let's also add that to our concept view. In our next view, let's change these variables in our toolbar. So instead of generated concept, it'll be generated next. We can remove this copy button title. Generated next. We can remove this copy button title here. And inside generate, we will do make next. So there's an error. I did not add next view to modules view. So we need to add case.next, next view. Now the preview loads and we can click next to test it out. We can generating next, and there it is. In the next lecture, we are going to build our last module, affirmation view. In this lecture, we are going to be building our 10th and final module, affirmation view. So let's add affirmation to our modules enum. So case affirmation. For title, on the case affirmation, we will return affirmation. And for SF symbol on case affirmation, we will return checkmark.seal. Let's go to the top and add the necessary variables. Let's copy from the generated next and change the names to generated affirmation, is empty affirmation screen, and has result affirmation screen. We can put generated affirmation here instead of generated next for both instances. Let's now create the make affirmation function. So scroll down and after make next, copy that, and after paste, and let's change make next to make affirmation. Inside of this text, we will write generate an affirmation I can tell myself that will subtly fill me with life and smiles, and that is not too confusing. Provide that affirmation without quotes. And inside here, we will say generated affirmation equals the output. Next, let's create the view. So right click modules, new file, SwiftUI view, and we will call it affirmation view. Let's delete the preview and let's add this to modules view. So after next, we'll say affirmation view. Let's go to next view and copy from environment object to the very bottom, excluding the last bracket. Copy that, and in affirmation view, replace the body variable with what we just copied. Instead of is empty next screen, we'll say is empty affirmation screen. Instead of generating next, generating affirmation. The navigation title will be affirmation. Has result affirmation screen and generated affirmation. The screen toolbar, let's change this next to affirmation and this next to affirmation. Instead of make next, we'll say make affirmation. And that is all. We should have affirmations working. Let's go ahead and test this by going to Modules GPT app, opening the canvas, scrolling to affirmation, and let's generate. And it's working perfectly. In the next lecture, we are going to be going over the settings page, which is currently empty. All it says is hello world, and we will be building that out. In this lecture, we are going to be building out the settings view. First, in app model, we are going to store the display mode, which is either going to be dark, light, or system. So at the top of app model, add published var display mode string equals dark. And in the root view, which is in Modules GPT app, we are going to set the preferred color scheme based on the value of display mode string. So below .on appear, let's do preferred color scheme, and we'll say model.display mode string equals system. If that is true, the color scheme will be none. Else, now we put two parentheses, and inside here, let's put model.display mode string equals dark. If that's the case, then the color scheme will be .dark, otherwise .light. Next, let's go to settings view and start building it out. So inside the body, we're going to have a navigation stack. Inside the navigation stack, we'll have a form. Inside the form, we'll have a section with the name general. Inside the section, we are going to have a picker with a title of display and a selection of model.displayMode string. Inside the picker, we're going to have a for each, which will go over our display options, which we do not have yet. So let's create up here, let display options equal light, dark, and system. Now inside this for each, put a comma, and let's say the ID is \self. And we're just going to say text $0. So this will just display the text that is iterated over this array. Let's go ahead and delete this preview. And let's see if this is working in the Xcode previews. Since in app model, we set the display mode string to dark, the first launch of the app will launch in dark mode. We can go to settings and change to light, and the behavior is working perfectly. One thing we need to add is the settings title here. So in settings view on the form, we're going to add a navigation title and put settings as the title. Next, we're going to create another section underneath general, and this section is going to be called contact. Inside is going to be a button with an action and a label. Inside the label will be a label with the title email support and a system image of tray.full.fill. So the button is showing perfectly. We just need to add the functionality for the button. This is going to be done using a helper class called email helper. So just type this with me right now. Email helper.shared.send email subject, and then this will be the subject. Body, that will be the body, and the to will be who the email is going to, and we can put appinfo.support email. Now, appinfo.support email does not exist right now, so we're going to go ahead and create that. Right-click Modules GPT and create a new group. We're going to call this Utilities. Inside of Utilities, create a new file. This will be a Swift file, and we're going to call it Constants. Let's also create another file inside Utilities called Email Helper. Swift file, Email Helper. Inside of Constants, we're going to create an enum called appinfo, and we're going to create a static constant. So let support email equal, and then this would be your support email. So I'll just put email@support.com. We're also going to put a second constant. So static let version number equal bundle.main.info dictionary question mark, and then open bracket quotation cf bundle short version string, and then as string, as with an exclamation point. This version number will allow us to access what the version number we put right here. Inside of settings view, for the subject of the email, we are going to make the subject modules GPT v, and then we're going to put string interpolation, and we're going to put appinfo.version number. This will make the subject of the email modules GPT v 1.0, and then when the app is updated to, let's say, 2.0, that would change in the email header. The last thing we need to do is add the email helper class. In the downloadable materials for this lecture, you will be able to see emailhelper.swift. Go ahead and download that and copy the code in there, and we're just going to paste it right here in email helper. We now have the entirety of the app built. Now, email helper, the button in settings view to send the email will only work on a real device. On the simulator, it will not work. And just like that, we have fully finished the app. We have all 10 modules, as well as the settings screen, which works with light mode and dark mode. Keep in mind, Xcode previews does have some bugs. So for example, we're in dark mode, but when we click this, it shows in light mode. This is just a bug in Xcode previews, and in a simulator or on a real device, the color scheme works perfectly. I hope you all have learned something from this course. I had a lot of fun making it, and I hope you enjoyed taking it. Thank you for watching.